Hello, classic rock fans. I am reporting live after seeing the Marshall Tucker Band at the Pabst Theater right here in Milwaukee. The Marshall Tucker Band is on their 50th anniversary tour, so a bit of a special occasion seeing them tonight. I went because I got a great deal on tickets. They were doing 2 for 1 at one point. So I got some cheap seats, and I managed to move my way forward to front row on the balcony. Because there were a lot of empty seats, unfortunately. But that's not necessarily a reflection on the band, so hold steady here. The opener for the night was Dave Mason. I've seen Dave Mason once before. He was the opening act for Steve Miller at the Wisconsin State Fair back in 2010. And back then, I was not particularly impressed by Dave Mason, so I really wasn't looking forward to seeing him tonight because I didn't think I was that much of a fan. So I came into his set a little late, but when I got to my seat, his band played Can't Find My Way Home, which is that classic 70s track that he did with Steve Winwood when they were in Traffic together. That's a great song, so hearing that put me in a good mood. And then after that, he did that There Ain't No Good Guy, There Ain't No Bad Guy, We Just Disagree song, which, that's the one that turned me off of him back in 2010, and I'm not really big on that song, so I was kind of checking out again. But right after that, he played what he said was a newer song called Road Dogs, and that got me paying attention again because that was kind of a fun song. Take a listen. Down this road, kinda like it if the truth told. Road dogs, just wanna play. You got a problem, we're rocking away. Road dogs. Yeah, I recorded just a quick second of that because I thought that was genuinely pretty fun. So that was a nice little pleasant surprise from his set and got a thumbs up from me. After that, he did his Feelin' All Right song. I haven't heard that one in a while, and that is a stone cold classic. That is an absolute banger. I wish I heard that more often. I probably would have kept a better opinion of Dave Mason all these years if I really remembered that he's the guy that did that song originally instead of Joe Cocker. So that was cool, and then he did his version of All Along the Watchtower, which is also a rock version. So all things considered, from the later half of his set that I saw, Dave Mason was pretty good. So he exceeded my expectations, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. He said he's coming up on his 60th year as a touring musician, which is insane. So that's impressive, Tip of the hat to Dave Mason for a surprisingly good set there. Now, as far as the headliner goes, I can't say that they exceeded my expectations, unfortunately. I'll say up front, the band was really good. The band that Doug Gray has put behind him is excellent. They didn't miss any cues. A couple of those guys can actually sing, and they sang lead on a couple of songs, which was great, because the lead singer, the only original member, Doug Gray, unfortunately, in my opinion, has seemed to have lost a step. His vocals were not particularly strong. The songs he did sing lead on, like my favorite Marshall Tucker song, Heard It in a Love Song, he sang that at almost a full beat slower than the record. If I ever settle down, you'll be my kind. That's a good time for little boy. Back in the 70s and 80s, you might go to a concert and bands would play songs half a beat faster, right? And now all these years later, when we're seeing bands in their golden years, sometimes bands will play songs about half a beat slower. And if it's just half a beat, a little slower, you don't necessarily notice, and it's not necessarily a big deal. But this was beyond that threshold. It was noticeably slower, and slowing that song down in that way doesn't add anything to it. So that was a bummer. And everything in the set seemed slower because they did 10 songs over an hour and 45 minutes. That is insane. I did not realize I was going to see Fish tonight. I mean, seriously, I know they're a jam band, but that wasn't all jamming. These songs weren't all 10 minutes because they were jamming. Some were, but some of them, they were just vamping. And by that, I mean they were kind of stretching out solos, having Doug talk at the mic for minutes on end. They were stretching things out, I think, to give their lead guy a breather every chance they could. Now, some of the stuff he was saying in between songs was really funny, at least in the first half of the show. As the show went on, he kept telling these stories and jokes in between songs, but as it got later in the night, he got harder and harder to understand, because if this guy has a real thick southern drawl accent, and you really have to pay attention to hear what he's saying. But as the night got later and later, he started to mutter more and more, so it became just impossible to make out what he was saying at times. And that's frustrating, because you know whatever he's saying is probably really funny, and you want to laugh with him, because you're having a good time. And it's a concert, and he seems like a real decent guy.
When they told me that y'all was doing what you were doing, and the people in the back and the guys, all the bosses and stuff like that, we have people that work on a lot of the executive part is what I'm talking about.
But if you can't make out the words he's saying, you know, you're not in on the joke. And then that just kind of sucks. So, yeah, there were definitely parts of the show that were a bit of a letdown. Another letdown, again, 10 songs over an hour and 45 minutes. And one of the songs they did not do was Fire on the Mountain. And some people will tell you that's their best song. I would tell you that's their second best song. And I was floored that they skipped that. And really disappointed with that, because that's a phenomenal song, you know. So, kind of frustrated on that end too. But I know that's also just set list nitpicking, so don't worry too much about that. So it sounds like I probably wouldn't recommend seeing them. Well, I don't want to say it just like that. I guess I would say, if you're a fan of their music and you have patience for these kinds of things at rock concerts, and you can get a good deal, and you go with a friend, and maybe you have a couple of beers and you just want to be at a show where you can kind of unwind and relax a little bit, that would be okay. But don't break the bank for this kind of thing. In fact, what I would recommend, if you're interested in seeing them, buy the cheapest seats you can, and then when you get there, look around, move into better seats. Because there were a ton of empty seats. Like I said, I bought the cheapest seats I could at a discount, and I ended up front row of the balcony. So, I'm sure you can do something similar. I don't regret seeing them. I'm glad I got them off my list. And if the circumstances are right, if you can get a good deal, I would recommend going. But just know what I've told you here, and keep these things in mind so you're not surprised and disappointed. In any case, kind of an up and down night, but I won't take away from the legend that is that band. I still love Marshall Tucker Band, so, you know, I'll just have to stick to the records, but otherwise, that's all I got to say about tonight's show. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Find our social media links in the description below. And if you're a fan of classic rock, I don't know if you know this, but I host a podcast about classic rock. And you can find the link to that show in the description below, so please check that out. Otherwise, thanks again for tuning in. Keep rocking.